Have you ever noticed how some days you wake up steady and clear, and other days you're caught in a storm of moods, doubts, or invisible pressures? What if you could design your own internal weather? I'll show you a way to engineer your own internal atmosphere, stabilize it, strengthen it, and amplify the traits that will carry you through the day. This is Amara Strand, and welcome back to my podcast. Today I'm shifting gears a bit and sharing one of my favorite daily tools, a way I calibrate my energy field using the 7 classical astrological powers: Sun, Moon, Mars, Mercury, Venus, Jupiter, and Saturn. It's an easy, fluid way to adjust your internal conditions for the day ahead, no matter what's happening around you. If you've studied astrology and watched it play out in real life, you know these forces can easily throw a wrench in your plans or tip over your whole day. And it's not just the astrology of the moment. Your natal chart has its own eccentricities, quirks, blind spots, and the occasional cosmic mischief. You want to get these planetary forces on side, working for you, not running interference from your blind spot. I'll show you how I calibrate them, refine them in my energy field, so I can claim their edifying and useful qualities. Because the external conditions are always shifting, but your internal sky, that's yours to master. The planetary energies are already playing out through you, whether you're aware of it or not. They're not just abstract symbols. Each one governs real functions in your life: how you act, think, how you love and play, and how you communicate. And like all the classical deities, they have their dark side and a light side, a noble, evolved expression as well as a coarse, low-resolution version. When left unmanaged, they operate unconsciously, pulling you along with the collective mood or your own internal programming. However, if you engage them, you can refine them, bringing forward their most relevant and dignified qualities. Using the practice that I'm going to show you, you're able to give them a distilled, deliberate expression. Now, if you follow my work, you know I'm all about cultivating personal agency and self-mastery. This practice that I'm about to share with you is another form of energy management, setting the internal stage before stepping out onto your life's external stage. When you intentionally set the planetary deities in your energy field, you're doing much more than borrowing symbolism. You're deliberately shaping your personal energetic landscape. This has been one of my core daily practices for decades, and here's why. I'm invoking the most beneficial, noble qualities of each planetary power, activating the courage, will, and protective qualities of Mars without tipping into needless conflict or competition. Or I'm charging Saturn to provide structure and the ability to take the long view without turning everything into a slow, serious uphill climb. Second, you're placing these forces intentionally within your field, and their position matters. Just like the layout of a city influences how people move through it, planetary placements influence how these energies express through you. I created a worksheet that goes into detail on the significance and meaning of each position and how the powers work very differently in each. Third, you are fine-tuning these energies. As I mentioned, and as I'm sure you've observed in your own life, planetary function has a spectrum, from distorted expressions to exalted ones. This practice lets you step into the more skillful end of that spectrum, rather than dragging around the inherited or habitual versions. You're encouraging them to work together. You want your celestials moving in concert, not yanking you in 7 directions at once. And finally, you're practicing one of the higher arts of personal mastery, balancing your internal circumstances against external ones. Think of it this way: it's a daily act of being an intentional human, or what I sometimes call a professional human, rather than an amateur. When you're not intentional, you waste a lot of energy reacting to circumstances. It's easy to check your daily horoscope, but why stop there? You're not relegated to being a passive bystander, not if you'd rather take the lead. And you know I'm all about that. Okay, so you've got your team of 7 celestials. Where are you going to place them in your energy field? When you activate a planetary force within your field, you're not just calling it up, you are crystallizing it, ennobling it, bringing it into sharp resolution. And you're giving it a specific role and placement within your energetic domain. I think of these placements as offering each celestial their own domain or throne. All but one of these placements or thrones come in natural pairs. Here are the ones I use. At your right hand, the side of outward action and execution. Powers placed here assist you in moving decisively, acting skillfully, and engaging with the world directly. At your left hand, this is the receptive, subtle side. Powers placed here operate through hidden or back channels, quietly influencing situations, working behind the scenes, and helping you receive and process what comes toward you without needing to meet it head on. The next position is before you. This is the deity that paves the way. Powers placed here shape the first impressions you make, the tone you set in interactions, and the energetic path stretching out ahead of you. How about behind you? Think of this as the power that backs you up. Powers placed here lend you strength, legitimacy, and unseen support. They authorize your movement, give you assumed confidence, and reinforce your stance without needing to be announced. And now the next pair, below you and crowning you. So below you, what power will you place at your foundation? Powers placed here ground you, steady you, and hold you firm against disruption. And then there's the crowning position, the organizing influence that casts its light over your entire field. Powers placed at the crown guide your overall orientation, shaping your perspective, your clarity, and the way that other forces integrate around a central axis. And finally, at your heart, this is one that isn't part of a pair. This is your radiant center. Powers placed here infuse your whole energy field with vitality, coherence, radiating outward to empower and inform every other placement. These positions aren't random. They create a dynamic, intelligent arrangement that changes how you interact, create, and respond to the world around you. You're not just honing your influence, you're choreographing it so that each planetary function can find its most useful expression. So let's consider how placement shapes the power. It's one thing to understand placement intellectually, but it's another to feel tangibly how dramatically it shapes and governs the energy. I'll run through a few examples so you can get a feel for how the celestials take on very different roles and expressions in different positions. Placing Mars at your right hand gives you quick access to courage and decisive movement. But placing Mars behind you, it becomes an enduring backbone of strength, steady and undaunted. Positioning Venus before you smooths your path in social interactions. People feel more at ease without even knowing why. Place Venus at your heart and the emphasis shifts inward, nurturing self-compassion and coherence. Now let's think about Saturn. Placing Saturn behind you lends weight and staying power to your actions. Others sense the patience, maturity, and long-term seriousness behind what you say and do. Anchoring the moon below you stabilizes your emotional body, keeping you steady through outer turbulence. And crowning yourself with the sun infuses your field with radiant dignity and vitality. Your presence announces itself without seeking attention. Centering Jupiter at your heart radiates optimism and benevolence outward, nourishing everything else you do. Now, these are just a few possibilities. You'll find your own combinations as you experiment. Now, you can change these positions daily depending on what you need and what's going on astrologically. And while daily calibration is useful, there's another powerful approach, setting the planetary powers based on your natal chart. When you place the planets according to your blueprint, the arrangement becomes stable, enduring. You're not just adjusting to the day, you're building a long-term relationship with your innate configurations. I've used this method for years, and here's what I found. First, you stop fighting or overlooking your natural tendencies. You collaborate with your celestials, strengthening your gifts, tempering your vulnerabilities, and giving extra support where it's needed. For instance, my somewhat neurotic, melodramatic Venus often benefits from a steady assist from Jupiter or the Moon. Second, you cultivate familiarity. When you consistently place Mars behind you, for instance, you don't just call on courage in the moment, you live with a quiet, enduring reservoir of martial strength. When Mercury rides at your left hand, strategic listening and subtle communication become second nature, and over time these qualities become elevated to superpower status. Once the planetary forces are placed within your field, you'll learn to harmonize them. Over time, you get to know each of these powers. They're no longer astrological aspects out there in the solar system. They're personalities that you get to know internally, functionally, by living with them. You start to see how each influence filters through you, how they interact, overlap, reinforce, or sabotage, and you learn to make subtle adjustments. Some days your Jupiter might need to stretch a little more, expanding your confidence or generosity. Other days you might need to tighten Saturn's grip slightly, giving form and restraint to ideas that could otherwise easily scatter. It's an ongoing adjustment, like adjusting the aperture of a camera lens, small shifts that bring desired changes into sharper focus. When the 7 celestials are working together for you, you don't just feel more centered, you feel composed. Your thoughts, actions, and intentions begin to move in coherent flow. And that coherence makes you much harder to knock off course, no matter what external circumstances you find yourself in. Have you ever noticed that one planetary force just won't leave you alone? It whispers, it stomps, it sulks. For me, it's Venus, and not the lounging rose petal version. My Venus is in Virgo, conjunct my South Node. She's a sharp-eyed perfectionist with zero tolerance for anything even slightly off. She doesn't just make suggestions, she issues proclamations. She's demanding, relentless, occasionally theatrical, and absolutely impossible to ignore. It took years of negotiation and deep introspection to temper her dramatics. Eventually, my moon stepped in, not to mediate, but to settle her and keep her grounded. My Venus is still strident, but these days, she is less prone to issuing ultimatums over imperfect flower arrangements. That's the kind of rapport you can develop when you stop analyzing these forces like textbook diagrams and start having actual exchanges with them. When you give them voice, ask them questions, and learn how to navigate the back and forth. Now, the worksheet I've created for this episode is designed to spark that kind of engagement. It walks you into the conversation. It invites you to explore what each planetary power means to you and how you register it in your life, where it brings support and where it tends to stir the pot. What qualities do these celestials amplify, especially in the context of your natal sun, moon, and rising? The worksheet is part map and part mirror. To get your copy of the Planetary Placement Worksheet, just sign up for my email list. The link is below. And if you're already on my email list, you should have received a link to download the worksheet already. So please go and check the email I most recently sent you. There are so many ways we remain spectators to our own lives, but you can always break that pattern and learn to see yourself as the one who leads and actively navigates. Now, go talk to your planets. They're waiting. Thanks for being here, and I'll talk to you again soon.